Hey, I'm JJ Virgin, author of the New York Times bestseller, The Virgin Diet, and the new Virgin Diet cookbook. And today, I'm in the kitchen with one of my heroes. I like to think of her as my go-to gut gal because she's the person I email whenever I need to know anything related to digestion. So yes, I have Donna Gates here with me today. I am so excited to finally meet you in the flesh. I mean, how ridiculous.
I know.
Like how many years?
We've known each other for a couple of years by email buddies.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
great.
It's very fun to be with you. I'm very excited about what we're going to be doing today because you're actually going to be introducing me to some new food.
I hope so.
But before we go there, I really want people to get to know you. I've gotten to know your story and gotten to know you over the years. And I'd love for people to know really how you got into all this, because you really are known as one of the leading experts in the world on digestion. So how did you get on this path?
Well, sometimes I think maybe our life is fated to a certain degree. I started off just because I was sick, and I had digestive problems, of course, and I had just started looking for answers. So I tried everything out there. I've been at this for a long time. I was raw, macro, into massive amounts of supplements, everything, high protein, everything. I did it all. And everything worked a little bit. You know, some of the things worked. So there was always something good in everything I did, but something that still wasn't there yet. And then I met Dr. Crook, and William Crook, and he had just written a book called The Yeast Connection. And after I actually met him, I was so fortunate.
How cool.
I sat out under a fountain at a trade show, and we talked. I had about 20, 30 minutes of his time, and he just talked to me about things. And I went home, and I knew that I was one of those millions of women that had a systemic yeast infection. So I'd always been fascinated by food since I was a little girl. And I always knew that food could heal. Even though nobody else seemed to know that, I knew it did. So I went into college, I studied to be a dietitian, I went to work just before I was graduating in a hospital. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible environment for me. I thought, this is not what I'm supposed to do. So I stayed in school another year and got a degree in child development, but I never stopped fooling around with food. Not to make a fancy dinner, but to figure out how to make food so it healed the body. And then when I met Dr. Crook, I thought, I'm taking all this knowledge that I've gained over the years, and I'm going to figure out what is this condition and what foods will work. And so he had his diet, and it was close, but not close enough. So I just started from scratch and started, what I thought would work. And then people started coming, of course, and they all had this condition. They had candidiasis, so they started doing it too. And through that, I was able to learn that it did work. So I wrote the Body Ecology Diet book. I put that out there.
Which is just a classic, the Body Ecology Diet.
It's been amazingly all over the world.
How many years has that been out?
At least 15, 16 years. It's made its way all over the world. Amazing number of people have found it. And so, I just think it was time for the world to have a lot of new information we've never had before. So here I am today.
Thank you for getting it out there.
15 years later.
Everybody I know, when I say, the Body Ecology Diet, they're like, oh yeah. Right? Everybody knows about it.
It's funny, a lot of people know the Body Ecology Diet, but it's funny because nobody knows me. I was in the health food store the other day, and I actually asked them where was the Body Ecology starter, because I wanted to check the expiration date and make sure it was fresh.
And they didn't connect the
and
dots.
3 people walked me over there, and another woman came down the aisle. All 4 of them showed me where the starter was. Not a single person knew who I was.
Oh my gosh, but actually that's kind of a testament to how big this has become, that it's bigger than you, which is really
that's
cool.
what I always wanted.
So when you think about your basic, and I want you to boil this down into just a couple sentences, like your overarching health philosophy, what would you say it is?
Gluten-free, casein-free, sugar-free.
Why we're so simpatica.
I know, but what also I would say is that we really are a system of health and healing, and the universal laws that I've found, I really feel I've been guided to bring together, they really are the answer. They tell us or guide us toward the answers for healing, or for health, just how to be healthy. And it's interesting because I've been into nutritional genomics for a while. That's the next thing. I mean, soon it's all we'll be talking about. And one of the things we're going to be able to do is absolutely design diets for ourselves that are perfect for us, express our genes perfectly. And so we're going to maybe change what we eat, but the principles don't change because they're laws that we have to live by. So one of those principles is the principle of uniqueness. And there isn't one diet for everybody. We shouldn't all be vegan or all paleo or all macrobiotic. You know, you have to find what what works in your body.
So the Body Ecology Diet, and hopefully it'll come back to this. What's the basic framework of that? If you were going to, you know, obviously everyone really needs, that's one of those books you need to have, you know.
Well,
but what are the steps there?
Well, I actually wrote the book for people with candidiasis, but actually that's millions and maybe almost everybody today is dealing with a systemic fungal infection that they don't even know they have. So it was sugar-free, gluten-free, and all from the very beginning. But the addition of fermented foods was really unique. I mean, even today, believe it or not, all the books come out. People don't really understand the importance of the fermented foods. So I feel in many ways guided to begin to understand about this inner world in our gut, this microbiome.
I know, which now is becoming like the big thing.
So hot, and we now have this term called microbiome, but years ago, there was no term for it, so I used the word inner ecosystem. I had to have something to describe it. And so it's about all this wonderful community. They have to be in balance inside your gut. And I started to find the science to explain why we need to eat fermented foods and why we need this inner ecosystem in our digestive tract. It is our immune system. Mm-hmm. We don't digest well without it. The microbes living there make our B vitamins, they make vitamin K, they talk to each other, they actually communicate to each other, which is called quorum sensing, and they work together to make us healthy or help us heal. They actually communicate to the gut wall, the lining of the gut, and that's very, very important because that gut, this gut is really a brain in our body, and it's connected to the brain in our head. And actually of the two brains, this one's kind of more of the primal brain. Like if you cut the connection between the two brains, which is the vagus nerve, this brain goes on functioning quite well, but this brain up here really starts to get in trouble. Serotonin and all the neurotransmitters, all the brain chemicals are actually also made in the gut in very large amounts.
Yeah, I was going to say more made in the gut.
Much more.
So.
Mm-hmm. So in order to feel good, we have to have a healthy gut.
So your program, what are the big benefits that you see for someone going on the program, and what kind of time frame do they see them?
Well, the first thing that they're doing is they're really cutting out all the bad junk. Right away, the gluten's gone, the sugar's gone. But we have a lot of delicious other foods. The other thing is Body Ecology is 80% plant-based. So we've got people eating, yes, they're eating fish, yes, they're eating chicken or lamb or whatever, but they're eating a lot of vegetables. Maybe a vegetable soup and kale and sea vegetables and fermented vegetables. And so they're getting a lot of fiber, they're getting a lot of nutrients. It's very alkalizing because those plant foods are alkalizing. It's very, very balanced. So I'm not sure, did I actually answer that question?
So 3 things. So someone goes on your program. They walk in and their gut hurts, their body hurts, they're tired, they look old, they feel old. What are like the top benefits you hear when people go on your program?
Usually they feel better immediately, like the first 2 or 3 weeks, but then around there they might hit what seems like it isn't working anymore, but it is still working. In other words, 2 or 3 weeks of doing the right thing, you're now having a payback. Payback maybe doesn't feel good because what's happened is a lot of yeast have started to die off. You weren't feeding them anymore and you were building your immune system. So the immune system is going after the yeast, they're dying. As they die, they secrete a lot of dangerous toxins when they're growing inside of you. Acetaldehyde, mannan, gliotoxins, all those are serious toxins. Now they're dying and they're secreting toxins too. So you go through a die-off period that's uncomfortable. I'm also really big on doing colon therapy, actually going in for colonics or doing home enemas to get people through that difficult time.
How long does that last, that period?
It depends. If you do the colonics, you don't necessarily even have that because.
But you can frame it then as this is a good thing. So you know you're going to start to feel better. Then you have this die-off period, and then you get to the next level.
Yeah, and then there'll be times where you go back through that again, where you have more die-off. But it's like most everybody's having these ups and downs also, but they're going down, down, down. with us, you'll have the ups and downs going up,
Right.
and so you're getting
most
better.
people have no idea what it feels like to feel really good, and they have these low-grade symptoms of rottenness all the time. And I think what happens as we start to heal is we start to see the light of what it feels like to feel good. And then as you're going through the healing process, you might, have to go through a little, but you're still so much better than you were, right?
Yes, and you're right about some people honestly have never felt well,
No.
ever. And it isn't a fast process because, we have a lot of toxins in our body today. The foods, the coconut kefir, the fermented vegetables, fermented foods are really, really cleansing. And so they're going to help you too. But it is a process. It depends on how old you are, how toxic you are when you start, how strong your immune system is. Healing is a process.
Well, it's really something you do forever because we're going to be assaulted by toxins
That's
forever
true. That's
too,
true.
right?
You never want to stop. And naturally too, when people do this, they fall off the wagon and they don't feel good after a while, and they usually go back. I think a lot of people have these starts and then they go off and they go back, but each time you go back, you're more committed.
Yeah.
Because you don't like the way you feel and look when you're off of it.
Well, because
And
you
so
actually
choose
could
it.
connect the dots and understand, first of all, what it feels like to feel good. And then when you didn't do things correctly, you connected the dots when, I eat this, I feel this
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Which
Yeah.
so many people don't have that awareness yet. So
Well,
that
I
awareness
think-
is empowering.
Well, too, when somebody's always eating badly, what's another bad food to your body? It's all it knows. But when you start cleaning up your diet and you're eating really healthy foods, then you go back to, say, eating gluten again, your body immediately.
Yeah. Boy, does it
feels
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's when people ask me, don't you cheat? I go, no.
No, I
Because
don't
it
either.
just doesn't feel good.
Right,
and like, who
exactly.
wants to feel rotten?
Yeah.
So this is going to be a tough one, sorry in advance, but I'd love to hear just one. And I know so many people who've gone through your program. So, I know you've now impacted hundreds of thousands of people, if not more. Give me one of your favorite success stories.
I think my favorite success story is a little boy named Thomas, and he had autism, as many, many children. And the reason I say this about autism, because I know a lot of people thinking, well, this doesn't fit me, I don't have autism, but the children with autism have everything all of us have. They have digestive problems, they have systemic yeast from the womb, they have heavy metals in their body, their detoxification system is really not working well. That's what most of us have. They just have this extra problem because they were vaccinated at a time when their immune system was very weak, and they actually there's something going on in the brain, which we're finding many children can recover from. Hundreds of children, we've recovered hundreds of children. The first little boy, though, was the special one because his mom called me. I had just invented the coconut kefir, and I really, really had just been putting it out there how much I wanted to help someone with autism because I kept hearing about this condition. I have a degree in child development. I really, really care about our children a lot. I feel like we have to be more mindful of what's coming ahead for our children. They're in trouble. And autism is showing that. So sure enough, a mother called me, and she actually was married to a cousin that I really never saw. I only really saw him a few times growing up. But somebody said to so her son was diagnosed with autism at the age of almost 3, and a doctor said to her, that little boy is covered in yeast, and she knew about me and knew that I dealt with yeast problems, and so she called me on the phone, and she lived in Charleston, South Carolina, and I remember telling her what I would think she should do, and that meant cracking coconuts and making fermented coconut water. I remember after talking to her for 2 hours, hanging up the phone, thinking, she'll never be able to do this. It's just too hard. And she certainly won't be able to get coconuts in Charleston. Well, she did, surprisingly, and started giving him coconut water, and his recovery was really, really fast. And so she was so disappointed because she had another group that had children with autism. They were all on drugs and things, and she was so excited because Thomas was recovering. Great, beautiful stories that she sent me about his progress. And these other mothers weren't interested. They just wanted to do the drugs. And so she was so down about that I decided to pull a group of moms together through a email, like a Yahoo group. And that started our bedrock program, Body Ecology Diet, Recovering Our Kids. And thousands of families have gone through our program. We've had a major impact.
Awesome about this. I mean,
oh well,
so
you
awesome.
know, it's never
what a
me.
legacy, though. I mean, just to know that you could get that information and push it out there, and
but you know,
make a difference.
Why doesn't every child recover? Because either number one, the mother's not getting the information, she'd do anything in the world for her child, or not every mother will fight that hard for her child, surprisingly. So I really credit the mothers more. I just gave them the information, kept feeding them information for about 2 years, and then they took off. You know, and they're young, amazingly well-educated, super women, and they're on the internet all the time, communicating everything.
So much, because now you can get this information out.
Yeah, and you know, autism is here. They are the canary kids. They're here to show us that we're in trouble. And I really believe with all my heart that we will recover all of them. I think we know how to now, but my biggest thing right now has been in prevention, because 100% of the time you can prevent autism. And we have many healthy babies born since then. After that, more mothers started calling me while they were pregnant or before they were pregnant. So we have a program for that. And of course, they're eating the fermented foods, they're off the sugar, they're off the gluten.
Well, the before
the babies
is the most important part.
it's the most important.
Like, forget prenatal nutrition. You need to, you need to look at this a year or two before you ever start
Ideally. But even in the womb, I mean, it's just amazing. Our babies that are born, their moms have eaten well, are really special. They're happy, like you've never seen children. Of course, their parents adore them, but they're just so bright.
Every parent adores their child, I hope.
Well, I don't know. Today, I think parents are really good parents.
So I know that we're very aligned in a lot of things. Obviously, we keep going, no gluten, no casein, no sugar. But one of the areas that I really been remiss in, and why I really wanted to do this with you, is this whole area of fermented foods, which I'm hugely excited about. I get some of the benefits. I know that you're going to be sharing more with us today, but that was what I wanted to bring you here to do with me, was to show us how easy they are to put together, and then get me to actually try some finally, because I know you keep telling me I'll send you some, and I'm like, oh no, that's okay.
Yeah,
so what are we going to be doing today?
I don't know why people are afraid of them.
I don't know. They are. There's something intimidating about them. I mean, I know that I've never really liked pickled foods.
Sour.
I just don't like the taste. So that was why I went, okay, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm going to get over this.
You know, it's a funny thing though, because when our babies are born, we right away give them, like a day later, give them a dropper full of the fermented coconut water or the juice from the fermented cabbage vegetables. They make a funny face because it's sour. But their mom, what are they going to do? Their mom keeps giving it to them every day. But that's one of the reasons why they're so happy and healthy.
Well, how many days does it take them to stop making the funny face and start liking it?
2-3 days.
Okay,
I've got lots of videos. Moms keep sending me these funny videos.
So I just need a couple of days.
Yeah, about 4 days. About 4 days.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what are we going to make today?
We're going to make fermented vegetables, a very simple recipe. And then you had also asked me to show you how to ferment quinoa into fermented quinoa milk, which is a good thing to use in your smoothies.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, is how do we get more of this into our everyday diet? So
lots of ways to get in.
I always have people start the day with the shake, so I thought, oh my gosh, we could pull out the almond milk or the coconut milk and rotate in some of this fermented quinoa milk. So very cool. All right, so I know we're going to make it. You're going to show me how easy it is to make, and then I'm tasting it. I'm starting my 4 days today.
I'm going to bet that you're going to be okay with it.
All right, well, we'll see.
Especially my recipes.
I don't know, it's always scared me. Okay, let's go do it.
Okay.